Hello everyone, this is Sadarling, and the 6th episode of the Amazing Digital Circus has already been released. This episode shows us Jax from an even less pleasant side than before. Out of nowhere, he pushes Pomni away, mocks her hopes, and even says he would easily forget her if she dissolves. But what if I told you that, with all his words and actions, the rabbit is actually trying to protect his friend? Kinger clearly hints that Jax is a deeply traumatized person, like everyone else in the circus, though the reasons and the ways that pain shows up are different for each of them. Throughout his time in the game, Jax has already had to endure the loss of several very close people, Ribbit the little frog and Kaufmo the clown. The rage Jax showed at the door says a lot about what he felt for the clown. He clearly had strong feelings for him while Kaufmo was alive. Kaufmo was his friend, someone he once ran around with and had fun with, just like he now does with Pomni. But eventually, anxiety and despair consumed the clown. He became obsessed with finding a way out of the game, and in the end, he simply dissolved. But Kaufmo's death doesn't make Jax sad, it makes him angry. He feels like his friend abandoned him. Instead of continuing to laugh and play this stupid game, Kaufmo went down the path of painful self-reflection, and it destroyed him. Have you ever wondered why Jax is always laughing, always teasing, and messing with everyone? Is it because that's just his archetype? Because it's just part of the game? No, the truth is a lot deeper. When the rabbit first ended up in the digital circus, he, like everyone else, still tried to follow normal moral standards. Once, he was in Pomni's place. But as he says himself, he consciously decided to become the jokester we see today. But here's the problem, the archetypes he talks about don't really exist. The circus doesn't turn people into cartoons the way he thinks. The outside changes, sure, but inside they remain the same people, with their pasts, their personalities, and a mountain of problems. Ragatha isn't just an optimist, her smile hides her pain. Gangle isn't just a crybaby, she desperately wants to smile. The ringmaster isn't just a madman, he's a wise man with a heavy past. Zooble isn't just a grumbler, they're also a loyal friend, always ready to support others. These simple labels aren't enough to describe them. Their actions are heavily shaped by their psychological issues and the situations they're trapped in, making them far more than just archetypical characters. The only one who insists on calling himself an archetype is Jax, because that's his defense mechanism. Watching players gradually dissolve, he came to what felt like a logical conclusion. Emotions and feelings slowly drive you insane, and that's what makes you disappear in the end. That's why Jax decided to completely abandon them, playing the role of a cruel jerk who pretends not to care about anyone. He avoids responsibility and deep thoughts at all costs. He didn't even go to Kaufmo's funeral, just to make sure he wouldn't accidentally show emotion. But his feelings keep breaking through anyway. Even at the sight of a single photo, his emotions overflow. And yet, with Kaufmo's picture, something very different happened. Instead of anger or tears, Jax made a strange expression, almost like he remembered something. He had that exact same look when staring at his hand, or when Pomni hugged him, like he suddenly recalled something from his past, especially after hearing what she said. Later, during the fight scene, Pomni points out that Jax doesn't even fight back, he just lets himself be beaten. All this clearly hints at another traumatic event from Jax's past. The details strongly suggest that some kind of violence he experienced or inflicted ended up leading to Ribbit's death. That trauma now echoes inside him as PTSD. On top of that, he's also guilty of Kaufmo's death. Ragatha even hints at it. Ragatha clearly implies that this isn't the first time Jax has pulled something like this. He suggests forgetting morality, just goofing off and mocking others instead. But sooner or later, emotions always come back to the surface. And while Jax tries to bury his feelings, Pomni simply can't. Over time, Kaufmo clearly stopped playing along with Jax and gave in to his emotions. And the rabbit, angry at him for that, simply abandoned him and kept having fun alone so he wouldn't put himself at risk. At that moment, the clown really needed the moral support of a friend. But Jax left him, refusing to talk about feelings because for him, they had already become forbidden fruit. And so, deprived of the closest person he had left, Kaufmo dissolved. Even though Jax tries to convince himself that Kaufmo was the one to blame, that he didn't keep laughing and ignored emotions, like Jax had told him to, deep down, he knows the truth. Somewhere inside, Jax understands that he is the one responsible for Kaufmo's disappearance. That's why when Pomni called Jax her friend, it triggered him. It brought up a storm of emotions, mixed with his recent memories of Kaufmo and Ribbit. Feeling guilty for their deaths, Jax decided he shouldn't ever be friends with anyone again. He doesn't want another person to dissolve because of him, because once again, he refuses to talk about feelings. And yet, he did like Pomni. He had fun with her. At the same time, he doesn't want to lose her, but also doesn't want the responsibility for yet another inevitable death in this game, a game that, sooner or later, drives everyone insane. But the very fact that a new friend appeared and that emotional conversation they shared had a real impact on Jax. Even though he plays the role of the evil trickster, he's still human. You can't suppress feelings forever while pretending to be a heartless monster. Sooner or later, they come out. That's exactly what Pomni told him. Jax does everything he can to avoid dissolving, but in the end, it's his very actions that are slowly leading him to it. In trying to save himself, he only closes himself off more and more. He pushes Pomni away so much that, at one point, he even laughs at the idea of her dissolving only to realize his mistake a few seconds later and try to cover it up with a joke. This is exactly why Jax doesn't want to be friends with Pomni, because he doesn't want her to share the same fate as his former friends. The rabbit already hates himself, and that's why he begged Pomni 3 separate times to shoot him, because he feels like he deserves it. It's also obvious that Jax was once close with Ragatha. The hints just keep coming. If we follow my earlier theory that they might actually be siblings, then we can imagine they once stuck together and supported each other under the weight of a very strict mother. But Ragatha, after diving into her studies and work to escape her home, eventually left her brother behind. And Jax still resents her for it. But if they only met in the circus, then most likely Ragatha at some point rejected Jax and chose a different group of friends, in his eyes, betraying him, just like Kaufmo did. In this episode, one of the most popular fan theories was confirmed. The ringmaster was the developer of this game. It seems that, after schizophrenia broke through in real life, the ringmaster and his wife decided to move into the world of the game he had created in order to keep living here, at least while he could hold onto some part of his sanity. But of course, the schizophrenia continued to progress even inside the game. His wife, who had to watch her husband's mind fade day by day, eventually dissolved from grief. That hit the ringmaster even harder. Surprisingly, though, it was Ragatha who helped him cope with his loss. Meanwhile, in Caine's room, we can spot photos of a real office back when the game was still being developed. And on Jax's gun, for the first time, we see the full name of the company that created it, Caine and Abel, exactly as fans had suspected since the very first episode. But if Caine is only an artificial intelligence, why was the company named after him? And why does he glitch whenever strong human emotions show up, complaining that nobody loves him? I think we'll still have plenty to speculate about in the future. That's all for today. Don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed the video, check out my earlier Digital Circus breakdowns, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. This was Sadarling, thanks for watching, and see you next time.